Welcome back to Drowsy Tales Daily. Tonight, your dream home became someone else's nightmare. Real estate agents who sold houses they didn't own, inspectors who hid foundation cracks for cash, and mortgage brokers who turned home ownership into financial ruin. These are the property frauds that will make you question every open house sign. Our first story takes us to Denver, where real estate agent Cordelia had been helping families find their perfect homes for 12 years. She specialized in luxury properties and was known for her ability to secure exclusive listings that weren't available through other agencies. Cordelia maintained an impressive portfolio of high-end homes and consistently exceeded sales targets through her extensive network of wealthy clients. Cordelia showed us the most beautiful lakefront mansion that perfectly matched our dream home criteria, shared excited buyers Ezra and Felicity during their house hunting process. She explained how her exclusive relationships with luxury homeowners allow her to preview properties before they hit the public market. But families started discovering they had purchased homes that Cordelia didn't have legal authority to sell, with forged documents and fake ownership papers that left buyers facing eviction from properties they thought they legitimately owned. "We paid Cordelia $600,000 for a house, but the Real owner says we're trespassing and demands we leave immediately," reported devastated buyer Gabriel to the Real Estate Commission. "Our mortgage company is demanding payment, but we don't actually own the property we've been living in for 3 months." When buyers demanded explanations for the ownership disputes, Cordelia claimed that complex estate settlements and legal transfers sometimes created temporary documentation delays that would be resolved through standard legal procedures. Investigation revealed Cordelia had been forging property deeds and creating fake ownership documents while selling homes that belonged to unsuspecting owners who had no intention of selling their properties. She'd been using sophisticated document forgery techniques to create convincing paperwork that passed initial inspection by mortgage companies and title agencies. The fraud particularly devastated first-time homebuyers who used their life savings to purchase properties that were never legally available for sale. Cordelia had been collecting massive commissions while families faced financial ruin and potential homelessness from fraudulent real estate transactions. When state investigators examined her sales records, they discovered Cordelia had been involved in over 40 fraudulent property sales worth more than $15 million while creating fake ownership documents that violated multiple federal and state laws. Our second story brings us to Phoenix, where Home Inspector Beauregard had been evaluating properties and providing safety assessments for 9 years. He specialized in comprehensive inspections and was trusted by real estate agents and buyers to identify potential problems that could affect property values and safety. Beauregard was known for his thorough approach and ability to detect issues that other inspectors might overlook during standard evaluations. Beauregard's inspection report was incredibly detailed, and he found several minor issues that we negotiated with the seller to repair before closing, shared satisfied homebuyer Helena during her purchasing process. His expertise gave us confidence that we were making a sound investment in a structurally secure property. But homeowners began discovering major structural problems and safety hazards that Beauregard had deliberately concealed in his inspection reports, while receiving payments from sellers to overlook critical issues that would have prevented sales. Beauregard's inspection said our foundation was solid, but 6 months later we discovered massive cracks and water damage that requires $50,000 in repairs, reported devastated homeowner Irving to the Inspection Licensing Board. He obviously knew about these problems, but didn't include them in his report so the sale would go through. When homeowners confronted Beauregard about missed problems, he claimed that structural issues can develop rapidly after inspections and that his reports reflected accurate conditions at the time of evaluation, with no guarantee against future deterioration. Investigation revealed Beauregard had been accepting bribes from sellers and real estate agents to provide favorable inspection reports that concealed serious structural problems, electrical hazards, and environmental dangers that posed risks to homeowner safety. He'd been deliberately omitting critical findings from inspection reports while collecting additional payments for keeping problems confidential. The fraud particularly endangered families with children who trusted that professional inspections would identify safety hazards that could threaten their family's well-being. Beauregard had been maximizing his inspection income, while homeowners faced dangerous living conditions and expensive repairs for problems that should have been disclosed before purchase. When state investigators audited his inspection practices, they found evidence that Beauregard had concealed over 200 serious safety violations while collecting more than $300,000 in bribes from parties who wanted to complete sales despite known hazards. Our third story takes us to Atlanta, where mortgage broker Jasper had been helping families secure home financing and navigate the lending process for 10 years. He specialized in difficult loan situations and was known for his ability to find financing solutions for buyers with challenging credit histories or unique financial circumstances. Jasper maintained relationships with multiple lenders and consistently secured approvals for clients that other brokers couldn't help. Jasper found us the perfect mortgage with incredibly low interest rates and minimal down payment requirements, shared grateful homebuyers Kendrick and Lavinia during their loan approval celebration. His expertise with alternative lending sources made homeownership possible when traditional banks had rejected our applications. But families started discovering their mortgage applications contained falsified income information and fabricated employment history that Jasper had created without their knowledge to qualify them for loans they couldn't actually afford. Our mortgage payment is twice what Jasper promised, and the bank says our loan application shows income we never earned, explained shocked borrower Maximilian to the Consumer Protection Agency. Jasper forged our employment documents and tax returns to qualify us for a loan that's destroying our family's financial stability. When families faced foreclosure due to unaffordable mortgage payments, Jasper claimed that changing interest rates and market conditions had affected loan terms in ways that weren't predictable during the initial application process. Investigation revealed Jasper had been systematically falsifying loan applications with fake income documentation and employment verification while collecting origination fees from families who qualified for loans based on fraudulent financial information. He'd been working with corrupt loan officers who approved applications based on falsified documentation in exchange for kickback payments. The fraud particularly devastated working-class families who trusted professional mortgage assistance but received loans that guaranteed financial failure and foreclosure. Jasper had been earning substantial commissions while families faced bankruptcy and homelessness from predatory lending practices disguised as homeownership assistance. When federal investigators examined his mortgage operations, they discovered Jasper had been involved in over 500 fraudulent loan applications worth more than $80 million while creating fake documentation that violated federal lending regulations. Our fourth story brings us to Las Vegas, where real estate developer Ophelia had been building residential communities and marketing new construction homes for 8 years. She specialized in luxury subdivisions and was known for creating beautiful neighborhoods with premium amenities and modern architectural features. Ophelia's developments consistently sold quickly due to their attractive designs and competitive pricing in desirable locations. Ophelia's new development offers everything we wanted in a family neighborhood, with parks, swimming pools, and excellent schools nearby, shared excited homebuyer Percival during his new construction purchase. Her attention to detail and commitment to quality construction makes her developments highly sought after by discriminating buyers. But homeowners began discovering their newly constructed homes had serious building code violations and substandard construction that Ophelia had concealed through bribes to building inspectors and fraudulent compliance certificates. Our brand new house has electrical problems, plumbing leaks, and foundation issues that violate basic building codes, reported frustrated homeowner Quincy to the Construction Oversight Board. Ophelia's development was supposed to meet the highest construction standards, but our home is falling apart after just 6 months. When homeowners demanded repairs for construction defects, Ophelia claimed that new construction warranty issues were handled through standard builder procedures that required documentation and evaluation through appropriate channels. Investigation revealed Ophelia had been bribing building inspectors to approve substandard construction while using inferior materials and unqualified contractors to maximize profit margins on residential developments. She'd been obtaining fraudulent building permits and compliance certificates that allowed her to sell homes that didn't meet basic safety and construction standards. The fraud particularly endangered families who paid premium prices for new construction homes, but received properties that posed safety risks due to code violations and defective workmanship. Ophelia had been maximizing development profits while homeowners faced expensive repairs and potential safety hazards from homes that should never have passed inspection. When city investigators examined her construction practices, they found evidence that Ophelia had built over 300 homes with serious code violations while paying more than $2 million in bribes to officials who falsified inspection records. Our fifth story takes us to Miami, where property management company owner Rachel had been overseeing rental properties and tenant relations for 11 years. She managed hundreds of residential units and was responsible for maintenance, rent collection, and ensuring properties met habitability standards for tenant safety. Rachel was known for her professional approach and ability to maintain properties that attracted quality tenants and generated consistent rental income. Rachel's property management is excellent, and she maintains our rental units in perfect condition while handling all tenant issues professionally, shared property investor Sterling during his portfolio review. Her attention to maintenance and tenant satisfaction keeps our properties fully occupied with reliable tenants. But tenants started discovering they were paying rent for apartments that Rachel didn't have legal authority to lease, with forged rental agreements and fake property management contracts that left renters facing eviction from properties they thought they legitimately occupied. Rachel collected our security deposit and first month's rent, but the property owner says we're trespassing and has no rental agreement with her management company, reported confused tenant Tabitha to the housing authority. We have a signed lease and payment receipts, but apparently Rachel had no right to rent us this apartment. When tenants faced eviction notices from legitimate property owners, Rachel claimed that property management transitions and ownership changes sometimes created temporary documentation confusion that would be resolved through standard legal procedures. Investigation revealed Rachel had been creating fake property management agreements while collecting rent from tenants for properties she had no authority to lease, leaving renters without legal housing rights despite paying legitimate rental fees. She'd been targeting properties whose owners were traveling or temporarily absent, creating fraudulent leases that generated rental income until owners discovered the unauthorized tenants. The fraud particularly harmed low-income families who paid security deposits and moving expenses for apartments they had no legal right to occupy. Rachel had been collecting substantial rental income, while tenants faced homelessness and financial losses from fraudulent lease agreements that provided no housing security. When housing investigators examined her management operations, they discovered Rachel had been collecting over $800,000 in fraudulent rent payments from more than 200 families who believed they had legitimate rental agreements. Our sixth story brings us to Seattle, where real estate appraiser Theodore had been evaluating property values and providing market assessments for 13 years. He specialized in residential appraisals and was trusted by lenders, buyers, and sellers to provide accurate property valuations that reflected current market conditions. Theodore was known for his thorough research and ability to identify factors that influenced property values in changing market conditions. Theodore's appraisal expertise helped us understand our home's true market value and negotiate a fair selling price, shared satisfied homeowner Ursula during her property sale. His knowledge of local market trends and comparable properties ensures accurate valuations that protect both buyers and sellers. But property transactions began failing when Theodore's inflated appraisals created artificial property values that didn't reflect actual market conditions. While he collected fees from parties who wanted higher valuations to complete questionable deals, Theodore appraised our house at $400,000, but 3 other appraisers valued it at $250,000, and our buyer's mortgage was rejected, explained frustrated seller Vivian to the appraisal licensing board. His inflated valuation wasted months of our time and prevented us from pricing our property realistically for the current market. When property deals collapsed due to unrealistic appraisals, Theodore claimed that property valuations reflected complex market factors and comparable sales data that justified his professional assessments based on industry standard methodologies. Investigation revealed Theodore had been deliberately inflating property appraisals in exchange for additional fees from real estate agents, mortgage brokers, and property flippers who needed higher valuations to complete profitable transactions. He'd been using selective comparable properties and ignoring negative market factors that would have resulted in lower, more accurate appraisals. The fraud particularly affected first-time homebuyers who qualified for mortgages based on inflated property values, but couldn't refinance or sell properties that were worth significantly less than their loan amounts. Theodore had been maximizing his appraisal income, while property owners faced negative equity and financial losses from transactions based on fraudulent valuations. When state investigators audited his appraisal practices, they found evidence that Theodore had inflated property values by more than $20 million while collecting unauthorized fees that violated professional appraisal standards and lending regulations. Our seventh story brings us to Chicago, where real estate attorney Wilhelmina had been handling property transactions and legal documentation for 9 years. She specialized in residential closings and was responsible for ensuring legal compliance and proper title transfers during property sales. Wilhelmina was trusted by buyers, sellers, and real estate agents to navigate complex legal requirements and protect client interests. Wilhelmina's legal expertise ensured our property closing went smoothly, and she explained every document clearly, shared confident homebuyer Xavier during his purchase process. Her attention to legal details gives us peace of mind that our property transaction is properly documented and legally secure. But property owners began discovering their deeds contained fraudulent information and legal errors that Wilhelmina had deliberately included to facilitate deals that violated property law and ownership requirements. Wilhelmina handled our closing, but we discovered our property deed has incorrect boundaries that overlap with our neighbor's land, reported confused homeowner Yvonne to the State Bar Association. Her legal documentation created a property dispute that's preventing us from selling our home or obtaining clear title. When property owners faced legal disputes due to defective documentation, Wilhelmina claimed that property law complexity and title research limitations sometimes created issues that required additional legal resolution through standard court procedures. Investigation revealed Wilhelmina had been creating fraudulent property documents and falsifying title searches while collecting legal fees from clients who trusted her professional expertise to provide accurate legal services. She'd been working with corrupt title companies that provided false title insurance based on fabricated property research and documentation. The fraud particularly affected elderly homeowners who relied on professional legal assistance but received fraudulent documentation that compromised their property ownership rights. Wilhelmina had been maximizing her legal fees while property owners faced expensive legal battles and potential property losses due to defective documentation that should have been accurate and legally binding. When legal investigators examined her practice, they discovered Wilhelmina had been involved in over 150 fraudulent property transactions while collecting more than $500,000 in fees for legal services that violated professional ethics and property law. Our eighth story brings us to Houston, where real estate investment advisor Zachary had been helping clients build property portfolios and generate rental income for 7 years. He specialized in investment properties and was known for identifying profitable opportunities that provided consistent returns for real estate investors. Zachary managed investment funds and provided market analysis that helped clients make informed property investment decisions. Zachary's investment expertise helped us build a profitable rental property portfolio that generates excellent monthly income, shared successful investor Adelaide during her portfolio review. His market knowledge and property selection skills create investment opportunities that consistently exceed our return expectations. But investors started discovering their investment properties were located in declining neighborhoods with environmental hazards that Zachary had concealed to complete sales and collect management fees from unsuspecting clients. Zachary sold us rental properties that are built on contaminated soil near a chemical plant, and the tenants are getting sick, reported horrified investor Bartholomew to the Environmental Protection Agency. He never disclosed the environmental hazards, and our properties are now worthless due to soil contamination and health risks. When investors demanded explanations for undisclosed hazards, Zachary claimed that environmental assessments and neighborhood analysis were specialized services that required additional professional evaluation beyond standard investment advisory services. Investigation revealed Zachary had been deliberately concealing environmental hazards and neighborhood problems while selling investment properties in areas he knew were unsuitable for residential development or rental income generation. He'd been working with corrupt environmental assessors who provided false contamination reports that concealed serious health and safety risks. The fraud particularly endangered tenant families who lived in properties with environmental hazards while investors faced financial losses from properties that couldn't be legally rented or sold. Zachary had been collecting substantial investment advisory fees while clients received properties that posed health risks and had no investment value. When environmental investigators examined his investment operations, they discovered Zachary had been selling contaminated properties worth over $12 million while concealing environmental hazards that violated federal and state disclosure requirements. Our ninth story brings us to San Diego, where real estate photographer Cordelia had been creating marketing materials and showcasing properties for sale for 8 years. She specialized in luxury home photography and was known for her ability to create stunning images that attracted buyers and accelerated property sales. Cordelia's photography consistently helped properties sell faster and at higher prices through professional marketing materials. Cordelia's photography makes our listings look absolutely spectacular, and her images attract serious buyers who are impressed by the property presentation, shared real estate agent Demetrius during his marketing review. Her professional skills help our properties stand out in competitive markets and generate multiple offers from qualified buyers. But property buyers began discovering that Cordelia's photographs used digital manipulation and staging tricks that misrepresented actual property conditions, creating false impressions that led to disappointing purchases and buyer's remorse. Cordelia's listing photos showed a spacious, bright kitchen, but the actual room is cramped and dark with outdated appliances, complained deceived buyer Evangeline to the Real Estate Commission. Her digital editing made the property look completely different from reality, and we made our purchase decision based on misleading photographs. When buyers complained about misrepresented properties, Cordelia claimed that professional photography techniques and lighting optimization were standard marketing practices that enhanced property presentation while maintaining accuracy within industry standards. Investigation revealed Cordelia had been using extensive digital manipulation to alter room sizes, hide property defects, and create false impressions that misrepresented actual property conditions to potential buyers. She'd been working with real estate agents who wanted misleading marketing materials that would generate offers for properties that couldn't sell based on accurate representation. The fraud particularly affected buyers who made purchase decisions based on online listings but discovered properties that were significantly different from advertised conditions. Cordelia had been maximizing her photography income while buyers faced financial losses from properties that didn't match their marketing representation. When consumer protection investigators examined her photography practices, they found evidence that Cordelia had been creating misleading marketing materials for over 400 properties while collecting fees for services that violated advertising truth and real estate marketing standards. Our 10th story brings us to Boston, where real estate staging consultant Ezra had been preparing properties for sale and creating appealing presentations for potential buyers for 10 years. He specialized in luxury staging and was known for his ability to showcase properties in ways that maximized appeal and selling prices. Ezra's staging consistently helped properties sell quickly by creating environments that allowed buyers to envision themselves living in the space. Ezra's staging transformed our property into a showplace that generated multiple offers within the first week, shared delighted seller Felicity during her successful sale. His design expertise and furniture selection created an atmosphere that made buyers fall in love with our home immediately. But property buyers started discovering they had unknowingly purchased furniture and decorations that Ezra claimed were included with property sales but were actually rental items that he removed after closings were completed. Ezra staged our house beautifully, but after we bought it, he removed all the furniture and artwork, claiming they were only rental pieces for staging, reported confused buyer Gabriel to the Consumer Protection Bureau. The seller's contract included the staging items, but Ezra says we need to pay separately to keep them or return them to his staging company. When buyers demanded clarification about included staging items, Ezra claimed that staging contracts and property sales agreements were separate transactions that required independent negotiation between buyers and staging service providers. Investigation revealed Ezra had been creating ambiguous contracts that misled buyers about which staging items were included in property sales while removing valuable furniture and decorations after transactions were completed. He'd been working with sellers who weren't aware that staging contracts created confusion about what was actually included in property sales. The fraud particularly affected buyers who budgeted for properties assuming that staged furniture and decorations were included in their purchase price. Ezra had been maximizing his staging income while buyers faced unexpected expenses for furniture they thought they had already purchased with their properties. When contract investigators examined his staging operations, they discovered Ezra had been involved in staging disputes worth over $600,000 while creating confusing agreements that violated consumer disclosure requirements. Our 11th story brings us to Portland, where real estate title company owner Helena had been processing property transfers and ensuring clear ownership documentation for 12 years. She managed title searches and provided insurance that protected buyers and lenders from ownership disputes and legal problems. Helena was trusted by the real estate community to provide accurate title research and reliable insurance coverage. Helena's title company provides thorough research and comprehensive insurance that gives us confidence in every property transaction, shared mortgage lender Irving during his business partnership review. Her expertise in title issues protects our lending interests and ensures smooth closings for all parties involved. But property owners began discovering their title insurance was worthless because Helena had falsified title searches and concealed ownership problems that created disputes and legal challenges after property purchases were completed. Helena's title insurance claimed our property had clear ownership, but we're being sued by someone who says they have legitimate claims to our land, reported panicked homeowner Jessica to the insurance commission. Her title search missed obvious problems that are now threatening our ownership rights and home security. When property owners faced ownership disputes despite title insurance coverage, Helena claimed that title research limitations and historical record complexity sometimes created issues that weren't discoverable through standard search procedures and industry practices. Investigation revealed Helena had been providing fraudulent title insurance while concealing known ownership problems and legal disputes that should have prevented property sales or required disclosure to buyers and lenders. She'd been falsifying title search documents and creating fake insurance policies that provided no actual coverage for title defects and ownership disputes. The fraud particularly endangered families who trusted title insurance to protect their home ownership, but faced legal battles that could result in property loss despite paying for professional protection. Helena had been collecting substantial title insurance premiums, while property owners received no actual protection from ownership disputes and legal challenges. When state investigators audited her title operations, they found evidence that Helena had been selling fraudulent title insurance worth over $3 million while concealing title defects that violated insurance regulations and property law. Our 12th story brings us to Nashville, where real estate auction company owner Kendrick had been conducting property auctions and facilitating real estate sales for 9 years. He specialized in foreclosure auctions and was known for his ability to help buyers find distressed properties at below-market prices. Kendrick's auctions consistently attracted investors and homebuyers looking for affordable real estate opportunities. Kendrick's auctions provide excellent opportunities to purchase properties at fair market prices with transparent bidding processes, shared successful bidder Lavinia during her auction experience. His professional management ensures competitive auctions that give everyone equal opportunities to acquire desirable properties. But auction participants began discovering they had bid on properties that Kendrick didn't have legal authority to sell. With forged foreclosure documents and fake court orders that left buyers without clear title to properties they thought they had legitimately purchased. I won Kendrick's auction and paid $40,000 for a house, but the homeowner says there was no foreclosure and I'm trespassing on their property, reported devastated bidder Maximilian to the auction oversight board. Kendrick provided foreclosure documentation, but the court says they never issued foreclosure orders for this property. When auction winners faced ownership disputes, Kendrick claimed that foreclosure proceedings and legal documentation were complex processes that sometimes created temporary confusion requiring resolution through appropriate legal channels and court procedures. Investigation revealed Kendrick had been creating fake foreclosure documents and conducting fraudulent auctions for properties that weren't actually available for sale while collecting substantial fees from bidders who believed they were participating in legitimate legal proceedings. He'd been working with corrupt court clerks who provided false documentation that supported fraudulent foreclosure claims and auction proceedings. The fraud particularly affected working families who used their savings to bid on properties they thought were legitimate foreclosure opportunities but received no legal ownership rights despite paying substantial purchase prices. Kendrick had been collecting auction fees and commissions while bidders faced financial losses and potential legal problems from transactions that were completely fraudulent. When court investigators examined his auction operations, They discovered Kendrick had been conducting over 200 fraudulent auctions worth more than $8 million while creating fake legal documentation that violated court procedures and property law. Our 13th story brings us to Dallas, where commercial real estate broker Nathaniel had been facilitating business property transactions and lease agreements for 11 years. He specialized in retail spaces and was known for helping businesses find ideal locations that supported growth and profitability. Nathaniel maintained extensive relationships with property owners and consistently secured favorable lease terms for his commercial clients. Nathaniel found us the perfect retail location with excellent foot traffic and reasonable lease terms, shared business owner Olivia during her store opening celebration. His knowledge of commercial markets and negotiation skills helped us secure a location that's driving strong sales and customer traffic. But business owners started discovering their commercial leases contained hidden clauses and escalation terms that Nathaniel had concealed during negotiations, creating unexpected expenses that threatened business viability and financial stability. Our lease payment doubled in the second year due to escalation clauses that Nathaniel never explained during our negotiations, reported struggling business owner Percival to the Commercial Real Estate Board. He assured us the lease terms were fixed, but we're facing rent increases that are destroying our business profitability. When business owners faced unexpected lease expenses, Nathaniel claimed that commercial lease complexity and market conditions created terms that required careful legal review beyond what was possible during initial negotiations and property tours. Investigation revealed Nathaniel had been deliberately concealing unfavorable lease terms while collecting commissions from property owners who wanted tenants locked into disadvantageous agreements that maximized rental income through hidden escalation clauses. He'd been working with property owners who used complex lease language to disguise terms that would create financial hardship for commercial tenants. The fraud particularly affected small business owners who trusted professional commercial representation but received lease agreements that threatened their business survival through concealed financial obligations. Nathaniel had been maximizing his brokerage commissions while business clients faced financial difficulties from lease terms that weren't properly disclosed during negotiations. When commercial leasing investigators examined his brokerage operations, they discovered Nathaniel had been involved in over 300 commercial leases with concealed terms worth more than $15 million in undisclosed financial obligations that violated commercial disclosure requirements. Our 14th story brings us to Phoenix, where real estate syndication organizer Quincy had been pooling investor funds and acquiring properties for group ownership for 8 years. He specialized in large commercial properties and was known for creating investment opportunities that provided passive income for individual investors. Quincy managed investment groups that purchased apartment complexes and office buildings that generated rental income for syndication participants. Quincy's investment syndications provide excellent returns with professional management that eliminates the hassles of direct property ownership, shared satisfied investor Rachel during her annual return review. His expertise in commercial real estate creates opportunities for individual investors to participate in large property investments that wouldn't be accessible otherwise. But investors began discovering their syndication funds were being diverted to personal expenses and unauthorized investments that Quincy made without investor knowledge or consent, while promised properties were never actually purchased or managed. Quincy collected our investment money for a commercial property syndication, but we discovered he used our funds to buy a yacht and vacation home for himself, reported betrayed investor Sterling to the Securities Commission. The commercial property we were supposed to own doesn't exist, and our investment money has disappeared into his personal accounts. When investors demanded accountability for missing funds, Quincy claimed that commercial real estate markets and investment timing required flexible fund management that sometimes delayed property acquisitions while maintaining investment capital and liquid assets. Investigation revealed Quincy had been operating a Ponzi scheme that used new investor funds to pay returns to earlier investors while diverting substantial amounts to personal expenses and unauthorized investments that had no connection to promised real estate syndications. He'd been creating fake property acquisition documents and investment reports that concealed the fact that investor funds were being stolen rather than invested in real estate. The fraud particularly devastated retirement investors who trusted their life savings to professional real estate syndication but lost their investment capital to personal theft disguised as commercial property investment. Quincy had been collecting millions in investor funds while participants received fake returns that masked the theft of their principal investments. When securities investigators examined his syndication operations, they discovered Quincy had been stealing over $20 million from more than 400 investors while creating fraudulent investment documents that violated federal securities regulations. Our 15th story brings us to Tampa, where real estate tax consultant Tabitha had been helping property owners minimize tax obligations and navigate assessment procedures for 10 years. She specialized in property tax appeals and was known for her ability to reduce tax burdens through legitimate assessment challenges and exemption applications. Tabitha consistently helped clients save thousands of dollars annually through professional tax strategy and assessment expertise. Tabitha's tax expertise saved us over $5,000 annually by successfully appealing our property assessment, shared grateful homeowner Theodore during his tax consultation. Her knowledge of assessment procedures and exemption programs helps us minimize our property tax burden while maintaining full legal compliance. But property owners started discovering that Tabitha's tax reduction strategies involved fraudulent documents and false exemption claims that created legal problems and penalty assessments when discovered by tax authorities. Tabitha filed disability exemptions claiming "I'm unable to work, but I'm perfectly healthy and employed full-time," reported confused homeowner Ursula to the tax assessor's office. Her tax reduction strategy involved false disability claims that I never authorized, and that could result in criminal fraud charges. When property owners faced tax fraud investigations, Tabitha claimed that exemption applications and assessment appeals were complex procedures that sometimes created documentation errors requiring correction through standard administrative processes and legal channels. Investigation revealed Tabitha had been filing fraudulent exemption applications and creating false disability claims while collecting consulting fees from property owners who trusted her professional expertise to provide legitimate tax reduction services. She'd been working with corrupt tax assessors who approved fraudulent exemptions in exchange for kickback payments that were funded by client consulting fees. The fraud particularly endangered elderly homeowners who trusted professional tax assistance but faced criminal liability for fraud they didn't authorize or understand. Tabitha had been maximizing her consulting income while property owners faced legal prosecution and penalty assessments for tax fraud that should never have been filed on their behalf. When tax investigators examined her consulting practice, they found evidence that Tabitha had been filing over 800 fraudulent exemption applications while collecting more than $600,000 in fees for services that violated tax law and professional ethics. Our 16th story brings us to Denver, where real estate market analyst Victoria had been providing investment research and market forecasting for commercial and residential property investors for 9 years. She specialized in market trends and was trusted by developers, investors, and lenders to provide accurate data that supported sound investment decisions. Victoria's research consistently helped clients identify profitable opportunities and avoid problematic markets. Victoria's market analysis provides invaluable insights that help us make informed investment decisions, shared commercial developer Wesley during his project planning process. Her research and forecasting expertise prevents us from making costly mistakes in volatile real estate markets. But investors began discovering that Victoria's market reports contained fabricated data and false projections that led to disastrous investment decisions and substantial financial losses in markets that were actually declining or problematic. Victoria's market analysis convinced us to invest in a declining neighborhood, and we lost our entire investment when property values collapsed, reported devastated investor Jimena to the Investment Advisory Board. Her research showed strong growth projections, but the actual market data revealed declining values and economic problems she never mentioned. When investors faced losses due to inaccurate market analysis, Victoria claimed that real estate markets were inherently unpredictable and that her research reflected available data that couldn't account for unforeseen economic factors and market changes. Investigation revealed Victoria had been creating fraudulent market reports with fabricated data while collecting research fees from clients who made investment decisions based on completely false information about market conditions and growth projections. She'd been working with corrupt data providers who supplied false market statistics that supported whatever conclusions Victoria needed to generate consulting income. The fraud particularly affected pension funds and retirement investors who relied on professional market analysis, but lost substantial investments based on fabricated research that bore no relation to actual market conditions. Victoria had been maximizing her consulting income while investors faced catastrophic losses from decisions based on completely fraudulent market data and analysis. When securities investigators examined her research operations, they discovered Victoria had been providing false market analysis that resulted in over $30 million in investor losses while collecting more than $2 million in consulting fees for fraudulent research services. Our 17th story brings us to Austin, where real estate crowdfunding platform operator Yolanda had been facilitating property investments through online platforms for 7 years. She specialized in making real estate investment accessible to small investors through crowdfunded property purchases and development projects. Yolanda's platform consistently attracted investors who wanted real estate exposure without direct property management responsibilities. Yolanda's crowdfunding platform makes real estate investment accessible and profitable for individual investors like us, shared platform user Zachary during his investment review. Her professional management and transparent reporting give us confidence in our real estate investment portfolio without the complications of direct ownership. But investors started discovering their crowdfunding contributions were being used for unauthorized purposes and personal expenses, while promised real estate projects were never actually developed or purchased as advertised. Yolanda's platform collected our investment money for a residential development project, but we discovered the land was never purchased and our funds disappeared, reported defrauded investor Adelaide to the Crowdfunding Oversight Commission. The project updates and financial reports were completely fabricated, and our investment money was diverted to personal accounts and unauthorized expenses. When investors demanded accountability for missing project funds, Yolanda claimed that real estate development involved complex financing and regulatory approvals that sometimes required flexible fund management and alternative investment strategies to maintain project viability. Investigation revealed Yolanda had been operating a fraudulent crowdfunding scheme that collected investor funds for non-existent real estate projects while diverting money to personal expenses and unauthorized investments that had no connection to advertised development opportunities. She'd been creating fake project updates and financial reports that concealed the fact that investor funds were being stolen rather than invested in real estate development. The fraud particularly affected younger investors who trusted online crowdfunding platforms but lost their investment capital to theft disguised as real estate development opportunities. Yolanda had been collecting substantial crowdfunding contributions while investors received fabricated reports that masked the complete diversion of their investment funds. When federal investigators examined her crowdfunding operations, they discovered Yolanda had been stealing over $12 million from more than 800 investors while creating fraudulent investment opportunities that violated crowdfunding regulations and securities law. Our 18th story brings us to Sacramento, where real estate education seminar leader Barnabas had been teaching property investment strategies and real estate techniques for 8 years. He specialized in teaching beginners how to build wealth through real estate investment and was known for his motivational seminars that inspired people to start their property investment journeys. Barnabas's seminars consistently attracted aspiring investors who wanted to learn proven strategies for real estate success. Barnabas's real estate education opened our eyes to investment opportunities we never knew existed, shared seminar attendee Cordelia during her learning experience. His teaching methods and practical strategies give us the confidence and knowledge to start building wealth through property investment. But seminar participants began discovering that Barnabas's investment strategies were fraudulent schemes that resulted in financial losses and legal problems rather than the promised wealth-building opportunities advertised in his educational programs. Barnabas taught us to use fake income documents to qualify for investment property loans, and now we're facing mortgage fraud charges, reported terrified student Demetrius to the Education Licensing Board. His real estate education involved illegal strategies that have destroyed our credit and created criminal liability we never anticipated. When students faced legal problems from following his investment advice, Barnabas claimed that real estate education provided general strategies that required individual legal and financial consultation to ensure proper implementation within current regulations and personal circumstances. Investigation revealed Barnabas had been teaching illegal real estate strategies that involved mortgage fraud, tax evasion, and document falsification while collecting education fees from students who trusted his professional expertise to provide legitimate investment education. He'd been working with mortgage brokers and tax preparers who facilitated illegal strategies in exchange for referral fees from seminar participants. The fraud particularly endangered working families who used savings to attend investment education but learned illegal techniques that resulted in criminal charges and financial ruin. Barnabas had been maximizing his seminar income while students faced prosecution and financial disaster from following fraudulent investment strategies disguised as legitimate education. When education investigators examined his seminar operations, they discovered Barnabas had been teaching fraudulent investment strategies that resulted in over $5 million in student losses while collecting more than $800,000 in seminar fees for education that violated investment regulations and professional teaching standards. Our 19th story brings us to Orlando, where real estate franchise owner Evangeline had been operating multiple real estate offices and supervising agent activities for 10 years. She managed franchise locations and was responsible for ensuring agents followed professional standards and ethical guidelines. Evangeline's franchise consistently ranked among the top performers in sales volume and customer satisfaction within the regional market. Evangeline's real estate franchise provides exceptional service and professional expertise that makes buying and selling properties smooth and successful, shared satisfied client Fletcher during his property transaction. Her agents are knowledgeable and ethical professionals who prioritize client interests and maintain the highest industry standards. But clients began discovering that Evangeline's agents were involved in coordinated schemes that manipulated property prices and created artificial market conditions that benefited the franchise while harming buyers and sellers. Evangeline's agents convinced us to price our house below market value. Then their investor clients bought it and immediately resold it for a huge profit, reported victimized seller Gabriella to the Real Estate Licensing Board. They manipulated our sale to benefit their own investment group while we lost tens of thousands in property value. When clients complained about unfair treatment, Evangeline claimed that market conditions and investment strategies were legitimate business practices that reflected current real estate trends and professional investment opportunities available to qualified participants. Investigation revealed Evangeline had been coordinating a price manipulation scheme where her agents convinced sellers to accept below-market offers from investor clients, who immediately resold properties at market value while the franchise collected commissions from both transactions. She'd been training agents to identify vulnerable sellers who could be persuaded to accept unfavorable deals that generated additional profits for franchise-affiliated investors. The fraud particularly harmed elderly homeowners and families facing financial difficulties who trusted professional real estate advice but received guidance that prioritized franchise profits over client interests. Evangeline had been maximizing franchise income while clients lost substantial property value through coordinated manipulation disguised as professional real estate service. When state investigators examined her franchise operations, they discovered Evangeline had been involved in over 400 manipulated transactions worth more than $25 million while collecting commissions that violated fiduciary duty and professional ethics requirements. Our 20th story brings us to San Antonio, where real estate tech startup founder Fitzgerald had been developing online platforms and digital tools for property transactions for 6 years. He specialized in streamlining real estate processes through technology and was known for creating innovative solutions that simplified property buying and selling. Fitzgerald's platforms consistently attracted users who wanted efficient, technology-driven real estate experiences. Fitzgerald's real estate platform makes property transactions incredibly easy and transparent, shared platform user grace during her digital closing experience. His technology eliminates paperwork hassles and creates smooth, efficient processes that save time and reduce complications. But platform users started discovering their personal information and financial data were being sold to third parties and used for identity theft. While Fitzgerald claimed data sharing was necessary for platform functionality and service optimization, Fitzgerald's platform collected all our financial information for our home purchase. But now we're receiving fraudulent credit applications and unauthorized loan solicitations, reported victimized user Harold to the Data Protection Agency. Our personal data was obviously sold or stolen, and we're facing identity theft problems that started immediately after using his real estate platform. When users faced identity theft due to data breaches, Fitzgerald claimed that cybersecurity threats and data protection were ongoing challenges that required constant system updates and security improvements that couldn't guarantee complete protection against sophisticated attacks. Investigation revealed Fitzgerald had been deliberately selling user data to marketing companies and lead generation services while collecting platform fees from users who trusted their personal information would be protected according to published privacy policies. He'd been working with data brokers who purchased detailed financial information about real estate transactions and used it for unauthorized marketing and potential identity theft schemes. The fraud particularly endangered families going through major financial transactions who provided sensitive information but received no actual data protection despite platform promises of security and privacy. Fitzgerald had been maximizing platform revenue while users faced identity theft and financial fraud from data that should have been protected according to platform security commitments. When cybersecurity investigators examined his platform operations, they discovered Fitzgerald had been selling personal data from over 10,000 users while collecting more than $3 million from data sales that violated privacy regulations and platform user agreements. Our 21st story brings us to Charlotte, where real estate marketing consultant Gregory had been creating promotional campaigns and advertising strategies for property developers and real estate agents for 9 years. He specialized in luxury property marketing and was known for creating compelling campaigns that attracted qualified buyers and accelerated sales cycles. Gregory's marketing consistently helped properties sell faster and at higher prices through professional promotion and strategic advertising. Gregory's marketing expertise creates stunning promotional campaigns that showcase our properties perfectly, shared developer Harrison during his project marketing review. His advertising strategies attract serious buyers and generate the kind of interest that leads to quick sales at premium prices. But property buyers began discovering that Gregory's marketing materials contained false claims and misrepresented property features, amenities, and neighborhood characteristics that led to disappointing purchases and buyer dissatisfaction. Gregory's marketing claimed our development had private beach access and golf course views, but we're actually miles from water and there's no golf course anywhere nearby, complained deceived buyer Isadora to the Advertising Standards Board. His promotional materials were completely false and led us to make a purchase decision based on amenities and features that don't exist. When buyers complained about false advertising, Gregory claimed that marketing materials used aspirational language and promotional techniques that highlighted potential rather than current conditions, which was standard practice in real estate advertising and development promotion. Investigation revealed Gregory had been creating deliberately misleading marketing campaigns that contained false claims about property features, neighborhood amenities, and development plans while collecting marketing fees from developers who wanted to generate sales regardless of accuracy. He'd been working with developers who approved false advertising because it generated buyer interest and sales contracts, even though the promised features would never be delivered. The fraud particularly affected families who made significant purchase decisions based on marketing promises, but received properties that lacked the features and amenities that justified their purchase prices. Gregory had been maximizing his marketing income while buyers faced financial losses from properties that didn't match their promotional representation. When advertising investigators examined his marketing operations, they discovered Gregory had been creating false advertising for over 200 properties while collecting more than $1 million in fees for campaigns that violated advertising truth and real estate promotion standards. Our 22nd story brings us to Jacksonville, where real estate wholesaler Isabella had been identifying investment opportunities and facilitating property transfers for 7 years. She specialized in distressed properties and was known for connecting investors with below-market opportunities that provided excellent returns. Isabella's wholesale deals consistently attracted investors who wanted profitable real estate investments without the complexities of direct property searches. Isabella finds incredible wholesale deals that provide excellent investment returns, shared investor Jasper during his portfolio expansion. Her ability to identify undervalued properties and negotiate favorable terms creates opportunities that wouldn't be available through traditional real estate channels. But investors started discovering they were purchasing properties with hidden liens, environmental problems, and legal issues that Isabella had concealed to complete wholesale transactions and collect assignment fees. Isabella wholesaled us a property that has tax liens and environmental contamination she never disclosed, reported victimized investor Catherine to the Wholesale Licensing Board. We paid full price for what we thought was a clean investment property, but we're facing expensive cleanup costs and legal problems that make the investment worthless. When investors faced unexpected property problems, Isabella claimed that wholesale transactions involved inherent risks and that due diligence was the buyer's responsibility rather than wholesale disclosure obligations, which was standard practice in real estate investment markets. Investigation revealed Isabella had been deliberately concealing property defects and legal problems while collecting wholesale fees from investors who trusted her professional representation to provide accurate property information and legitimate investment opportunities. She'd been working with sellers who knew about property problems but wanted to complete sales without addressing expensive issues that would reduce property values. The fraud particularly affected new investors who trusted wholesale expertise but received properties with problems that exceeded their investment budgets and financial capabilities. Isabella had been maximizing her wholesale income while investors faced financial losses from properties that required expensive remediation and legal resolution. When real estate investigators examined her wholesale operations, they discovered Isabella had been concealing property defects worth over $8 million while collecting more than $600,000 in assignment fees for transactions that violated wholesale disclosure requirements. Our 23rd story brings us to Memphis, where real estate auction house owner Jordan had been conducting estate sales and property liquidations for 8 years. He specialized in estate auctions and was known for helping families dispose of inherited properties through professional auction services that maximized sale proceeds. Jordan's auctions consistently attracted bidders and generated fair market prices for estate properties. Jordan's estate auction expertise helped us sell our inherited property quickly and professionally, shared estate beneficiary Kenneth during the liquidation process. His auction management and marketing skills attracted serious bidders who paid fair prices that exceeded our expectations for the property sale. But estate beneficiaries began discovering that Jordan was manipulating auction results through shill bidding and collusion that artificially inflated prices while he collected higher commission fees from fraudulent sales proceeds. Jordan's auction appeared competitive, but we discovered he was using fake bidders to drive up prices and increase his commission, reported suspicious beneficiary Lavinia to the Auction Oversight Board. The winning bidder never completed the purchase, and we had to resell the property at a much lower price while Jordan kept his inflated commission. When estate sales failed due to fraudulent bidding, Jordan claimed that auction dynamics and bidder financing issues sometimes created completion problems that required re-auction procedures, which was common in estate liquidation markets and professional auction operations. Investigation revealed Jordan had been using confederates to place fake bids that inflated auction prices while collecting commission fees based on fraudulent sale amounts that were never actually paid by legitimate buyers. He'd been working with accomplices who posed as serious bidders but had no intention of completing purchases, creating artificial competition that increased commission income. The fraud particularly harmed estate beneficiaries who needed legitimate property liquidation but received inflated sale confirmations followed by failed transactions that required costly re-auction procedures. Jordan had been maximizing his auction commissions while beneficiaries faced delays and reduced sale proceeds from fraudulent auction manipulation. When auction investigators examined his estate operations, they discovered Jordan had been manipulating over 300 estate auctions worth more than $12 million while collecting fraudulent commissions that violated auction regulations and estate liquidation requirements. Our 24th story brings us to Louisville, where real estate referral service owner Maximilian had been connecting buyers and sellers with qualified agents for 9 years. He specialized in agent matching and was known for connecting clients with real estate professionals who provided excellent service and successful outcomes. Maximilian's referral service consistently helped clients find agents who met their specific needs and transaction requirements. Maximilian's referral service connected us with the perfect agent who understood our needs and provided exceptional service, shared satisfied client Natalie during her successful property sale. His ability to match clients with qualified professionals eliminates the guesswork and ensures we work with agents who have proven track records and appropriate expertise. But clients began discovering they were being referred to agents who paid kickbacks to Maximilian while providing substandard service that prioritized referral fee arrangements over client interests and professional obligations. The agent Maximilian referred charged excessive fees and provided terrible service, but we discovered he pays Maximilian substantial kickbacks for referrals, reported disappointed client Orville to the referral licensing board. Maximilian's recommendations were based on financial arrangements rather than agent qualifications and client service quality. When clients complained about poor agent performance, Maximilian claimed that real estate service quality varied based on market conditions and individual circumstances that couldn't be guaranteed through referral matching, and that agent selection ultimately remained client responsibility. Investigation revealed Maximilian had been operating a referral scheme that prioritized agents who paid the highest kickback fees rather than those who provided the best client service, creating a system that benefited referral income over client interests. He'd been collecting substantial kickback payments from agents who wanted referrals regardless of their qualifications or service quality, creating conflicts of interest that violated referral service professional standards. The fraud particularly harmed clients who trusted professional referral expertise but received agents who prioritized kickback arrangements over client service and successful transaction outcomes. Maximilian had been maximizing his referral income while clients received substandard representation from agents selected based on financial arrangements rather than professional qualifications. When referral service investigators examined his operations, they discovered Maximilian had been collecting over $400,000 in kickback payments while referring clients to agents who violated professional service standards and fiduciary duty requirements. Our 25th story brings us to Richmond, where real estate coaching service owner Penelope had been training new agents and providing professional development for 6 years. She specialized in agent education and was known for creating training programs that helped new professionals succeed in competitive real estate markets. Penelope's coaching consistently helped agents develop skills and knowledge that led to successful careers and satisfied clients. Penelope's coaching program gave me the skills and confidence to build a successful real estate career, shared coaching graduate Quincy during his professional development review. Her training methods and practical strategies provide the foundation for ethical professional practice and long-term success in challenging market conditions. But coaching students began discovering that Penelope's training included illegal techniques and unethical practices disguised as professional strategies, leading to license violations and legal problems for agents who followed her instruction. Penelope taught us to falsify listing information and manipulate market data to secure more clients. But now I'm facing license suspension for practices she claimed were standard, reported troubled agent Rachel to the coaching oversight board. Her training program included illegal strategies that she presented as normal business practices, but they're actually violations that could end my career. When coaching students faced professional discipline, Penelope claimed that real estate markets were competitive environments that required aggressive strategies, and that students were responsible for ensuring their practices complied with current regulations and professional standards. Investigation revealed Penelope had been teaching illegal real estate practices while collecting coaching fees from students who trusted her professional expertise to provide legitimate training that would support successful, ethical careers. She'd been working with disciplined agents who shared unethical techniques in exchange for teaching opportunities that generated additional income from coaching services. The fraud particularly endangered new agents who invested in professional education but learned practices that resulted in license violations and career destruction rather than professional success. Penelope had been maximizing her coaching income while students faced professional discipline and potential career loss from following fraudulent training disguised as legitimate professional education. When licensing investigators examined her coaching operations, they discovered Penelope had been teaching illegal practices to over 200 agents while collecting more than $500,000 in coaching fees for education that violated professional standards and licensing requirements. Our 26th story brings us to Norfolk, where real estate syndication attorney Sterling had been structuring investment partnerships and managing legal compliance for real estate investment groups for 10 years. He specialized in securities law and was responsible for ensuring investment offerings complied with federal and state regulations. Sterling was trusted by developers and investment organizers to create legal structures that protected both sponsors and investors. Sterling's legal expertise ensures our real estate syndications comply with all securities regulations and protect investor interests, shared syndication sponsor Tabitha during her compliance review. His knowledge of investment law and regulatory requirements gives us confidence that our offerings meet professional standards and legal obligations. But investors started discovering their syndication investments were structured as illegal securities offerings that violated federal regulations. While Sterling collected legal fees for creating investment structures that exposed participants to regulatory violations and potential prosecution, Sterling structured our investment as a legal syndication, but the SEC says it's an unregistered securities offering that violates federal law, reported panicked investor Theodore to the Securities Commission. His legal work created regulatory violations that could result in criminal charges and complete loss of our investment capital. When investment structures faced regulatory challenges, Sterling claimed that securities law complexity and changing regulations sometimes created interpretation issues that required additional legal analysis and regulatory consultation to ensure ongoing compliance. Investigation revealed Sterling had been creating illegal investment structures while collecting legal fees from sponsors who trusted his professional expertise to provide compliant securities offerings that met regulatory requirements and protected investor rights. He'd been working with investment promoters who wanted to raise capital without meeting securities registration requirements, creating structures that appeared legal but actually violated federal and state investment regulations. The fraud particularly endangered retirement investors who trusted professional legal structure but participated in illegal offerings that threatened their investment security and exposed them to regulatory prosecution. Sterling had been maximizing his legal fees while investment participants faced regulatory violations and potential criminal liability from structures that should have been compliant with securities law. When securities investigators examined his legal practice, they discovered Sterling had been creating illegal investment structures worth over $40 million while collecting more than $2 million in legal fees for services that violated securities regulations and professional legal standards. Our 27th story brings us to Tucson, where real estate technology company owner Ursula had been developing property management software and digital tools for landlords and property managers for 7 years. She specialized in rental property technology and was known for creating efficient systems that streamlined property management and tenant relations. Ursula's software consistently helped property managers operate more efficiently while providing better service to tenants and property owners. Ursula's property management software revolutionizes how we handle rental properties and tenant communications, shared property manager Victor during his system implementation. Her technology eliminates administrative burdens and creates efficient processes that improve both property management and tenant satisfaction. But property managers began discovering that Ursula's software contained hidden features that allowed unauthorized access to tenant personal information and financial data, which was being harvested and sold to third-party marketing companies without tenant knowledge or consent. Ursula's software collected all our tenant information and sold it to marketing companies who were now harassing our tenants with fraudulent offers, reported concerned property manager Vivian to the Data Protection Authority. The software agreement never mentioned data harvesting, and our tenants are facing identity theft attempts that trace back to information collected through her property management system. When tenant data was compromised, Ursula claimed that software functionality required data processing for system optimization and that privacy policies covered necessary data usage for property management efficiency and service improvement purposes. Investigation revealed Ursula had been embedding data harvesting features in property management software while selling tenant personal information to marketing companies and potential identity thieves who used the data for unauthorized purposes. She'd been working with data brokers who purchased detailed tenant information including financial data, employment history, and personal preferences that could be used for identity theft and fraudulent schemes. The fraud particularly endangered vulnerable tenants whose personal information was collected through trusted property management systems but used for unauthorized purposes that threatened their privacy and financial security. Ursula had been maximizing software revenue while tenants faced privacy violations and potential identity theft from data that should have been protected according to software privacy commitments. When cybersecurity investigators examined her software operations, they discovered Ursula had been harvesting data from over 15,000 tenants while collecting more than $1 million from data sales that violated privacy regulations and software user agreements. Our 28th story brings us to Raleigh, where real estate compliance consultant Wesley had been helping real estate companies meet regulatory requirements and maintain professional standards for 8 years. He specialized in regulatory compliance and was responsible for ensuring real estate operations followed federal and state laws. Wesley was trusted by brokerages and development companies to provide guidance that prevented regulatory violations and maintained professional licensing. Wesley's compliance expertise protects our real estate operations from regulatory problems and ensures we maintain the highest professional standards, shared brokerage owner Jimena during her compliance audit. His knowledge of real estate law and regulatory requirements gives us confidence that our business practices meet all legal obligations and industry standards. But real estate companies began discovering that Wesley's compliance advice involved creating fraudulent documentation and false reporting that concealed regulatory violations while he collected consulting fees for services that actually increased legal exposure and potential prosecution. Wesley advised us to create false transaction reports to hide our regulatory violations, but now we're facing federal charges for fraud and document falsification, reported terrified business owner Yolanda to the Compliance Oversight Board. His compliance advice involved illegal cover-up strategies that have created criminal liability far worse than our original regulatory problems. When companies face prosecution due to compliance advice, Wesley claimed that regulatory compliance involved complex strategies that sometimes required creative documentation approaches to maintain business operations while addressing regulatory concerns through appropriate legal channels. Investigation revealed Wesley had been advising illegal compliance strategies that involved document falsification and regulatory fraud while collecting consulting fees from companies that trusted his professional expertise to provide legitimate compliance solutions. He'd been working with corrupt regulatory officials who accepted bribes to overlook violations in exchange for payments funded by client consulting fees. The fraud particularly endangered established real estate companies that trusted professional compliance advice but received guidance that created criminal liability and potential business destruction. Wesley had been maximizing his consulting income while companies faced prosecution and business loss from following fraudulent compliance advice disguised as legitimate regulatory strategy. When regulatory investigators examined his consulting practice, they discovered Wesley had been providing illegal compliance advice to over 100 companies while collecting more than $800,000 in fees for services that violated regulatory compliance requirements and professional consulting standards. Thank you for joining me tonight on Drowsy Tales Daily, and may these stories guide you into peaceful sleep with renewed awareness of the importance of real estate industry accountability and protecting homebuyers from professionals that would exploit their trust during vulnerable property transactions. Sweet dreams, and I'll see you tomorrow night for another collection of fascinating Reddit stories designed to help you drift off to sleep.